What is going on today, guys? AU here, and today I'm bringing you a brand new team builder on GMAX Lapras. Now, I've been enjoying Series 3 a lot the past couple days. Really about the past, since the rules that came out, the VGC Room and Showdown has been hosting tournaments, and from what I can tell, everyone is loving Series 3. Like, it's insane at the response to Series 3 got, especially with all the hate it was kind of getting when the first rule set came out. Um, I know a lot of big VGC players were hating on Incineroar, hating on the fact that it was going to be back, this and that. But overall, Series 3 is legit fun, and I've been having the most fun building teams in it. And I'm actually going to be sharing my first GMAX Lapras team with you guys. So we'll kind of get into that, but before we get into that, I want to say to everyone who's new here that if you're new here, subscribe, because I'm putting out videos like this every single day, Monday through Friday. We have competitive Pokemon. We have VGC 2020, VGC 2020 Series 3. We've got we've got Draft League on Fridays, so if you're in the Draft League, I've got a Draft League on Friday. Right now we're doing really well in that league, so definitely if you want to keep up with that, definitely do. I'll leave a link to one of the battles in the description below. Also, I've actually done a video on GMAX Lapras before. It was kind of when the raids were first starting being promoted. I thought it was going to be legal a lot sooner than what it was. So actually I already did kind of like a breakdown of GMAX Lapras before, but since then some things have changed, the meta's changed, and what I think Lapras is going to do is a little bit different now. Also, my knowledge of VGC has changed a lot. So basically we're just going to go over this team and what my idea for this team was. So we're going to start out here with Gothitelle. Now, a lot of you probably know the Paris Trap team that Moxie boosted made. He had GMAX Sandaconda, Gothitelle, Snorlax, Arcanine, Lapras, and something else. But basically it was a Paris Trap team, one of the most annoying archetypes to play against, honestly. And the real core of it was Gothitelle Lapras. You would lead Gothitelle, use Paris Song, double protect your Pokemon, try to double protect them again, basically, and try to basically just stall out those 3 turns of the Paris Song for your other Pokemon, and you would switch out both of your Pokemon so they could live longer. But yeah, so that's kind of the core I went for, and you can see here I've got Hydro Pump, Freeze Dry, Protect, and Paris Song. The reason I'm running Protect and Parasong is in case I need to run that Parasong core, I can use Protect to kind of stall out those turns. Also the same with Gothitelle, I've got Protect to stall out those turns. So Gothitelle is just Focus Sash and Shadow Tag. If you don't know what Shadow Tag does, it just keeps your opponent from being able to switch. And then I'm just running Max HP, Max Defense, Max Special or 4 Special Defense. So we have Fake Out, Trick Room, Protect, and Psychic. I'm not running 0 speed or min speed because Incineroars usually stick around the 81 to 82 range of speed. So I kind of want my Fake Out to outspeed them, and I even just went ahead and put 31 EV or IVs into it, just because you don't really need to do anything less. And if an Incineroar is running like 83 or 84 speed, we'll still outspeed them with Fake Out. So that's nice. I've had a couple games where that's came in clutch. So that's the reason I'm not running min speed on my Gothitelle. Lapras here is just with Weakness Policy and Shell Armor. I like Shell Armor a lot more because if you really think about it, Lapras isn't taking a lot of damage from Water type moves anyways, and people are rarely going to use those Water type moves into you, because they won't know if you're Shell Armor or not unless they use a Water type move and see that it does damage. And even then they might take your Hydration. But I like Shell Armor because Crit Kiss is running around Togekiss with Super Scope Lens. And this kind of just hard counters that. Togekiss doesn't do much damage to Lapras at all, so it needs to rely on those crits, and if it can't get crits, then it's definitely not doing a lot of damage. I ran calcs like last week sometime, and to be honest with you, I can't remember them right off the top of my head. I think one of them was like Duraludon Max Lightning if I'm not maxed, and probably one of them was a Conkeldurr, what's it called? close combat, because I think close combat is going to be pretty good for the meta once Incineroar comes out, because that's kind of one of the ways you can OHKO Incineroar. But anyways, so I just ran a few quick calcs on it. Definitely, if you are running the team and you start seeing some problems with the spread here, definitely tweak it up a little bit. Like I always like to tell people, one of the best things to do is if you're using a spread that's not yours, made from scratch, use somebody else's, run calcs on that spread, and if you see something that you don't like about it, change it. So definitely just go ahead and do that if you think that this spread isn't really fitting what your team needs. It's been doing fine for me, so I'm probably going to keep it as it is on this team. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about Lapras later on, because there's some big points I want to hit with Lapras on what I think her use really is. Especially, I think a lot of people have some misconceptions about what role Lapras needs to play, but that means I'll also talk about Incineroar a little bit later too, because he kind of plays into that. But we have Rotom Wash basically to counter Milotic, because Milotic's going to run around with Incineroar being legal now, and I just have Nasty Plot and Ally Switch, which I kind of like with Togekiss, because Togekiss has Follow Me, and I run the same Scope Lens Super Lux that you've seen before. I'm not going to do too much breakdown on this. It lives Durant Max Steel Spike if you max it, so then you can kill it with Max Flare. Behind screens, it's super bulky, so that's basically the EV spread on this. But anyways, Rotom Mow is here to check that Milotic, also to check like Gyarados or something. With Thunderbolt, we are speed creeping Gyarados, so we definitely outspeed. You can use Follow Me and get a Nasty Plot off. You can Ally Switch to play some mind games. But overall, Rotom just seemed like a solid Pokemon to put into the team. I used to have Raichu for like a double fake out and to redirect the electric type attacks, but I kind of wanted the electric type attacks to hit Lapras because it's holding up weakness policy, so I ended up changing it to Rotom Mow just for that Fire, Water, Grass core right here that we get in those 3 Pokemon. And the last Pokemon is Conkeldurr, and this is actually the wrong Conkeldurr set. I want to use I want to use Wolfie's and Aaron Trailer's Conkeldurr, because I think that their Conkeldurr is right now one of the best sets to have in VGC Series 3, because of that close combat, and the calcs that they ran on it kind of fit pretty well. I'm actually going to import that here, but you'll see it here. So their Conkeldurr, let's see if I can get to it. Their Conkeldurr is just AV Guts. They ran some pretty extensive calcs on it. If you want to see their reasoning behind it, they have a whole team breakdown on. There's one on Reddit, one on like the VGC Stats website or something. But the biggest thing is I want a close combat, because if you can play around Incineroar's Intimidate and Honk's not intimidated, then you can OHKO with close combat. And if they're not EV correctly and they intimidate you, sometimes you can even still pick up the OHKO with that close combat. But that's kind of the thought process behind running close combat during Series 3. It also does big damage to Lapras, which is really good. So like I said, I just think close combat on AV close combat on Conkeldurr is going to be pretty strong during Series 3. Now, the main thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about the role a Lapras needs to play in a team. I've seen people over and over build teams with Lapras and Grimmsnarl on them. We're talking about GMAX Lapras here, like I'm talking about Series 3 only. I've seen teams with Lapras and Grimmsnarl on it. I've seen people saying how that's a wasted move slot, this and that. I've seen teams with Lapras Meowstic. Basically, I've seen teams with Lapras plus a screen setter, and I don't think that that's inherently bad. I personally wouldn't do it, but I don't think that it's bad. And if people tell you that it's bad, I would tell them in return that if they're thinking about Lapras as a screen setter, they're not using Lapras to its full potential. Now, I say that, and the reason I say that is because Lapras is so much more valuable than a screen setter. Yes, GMAX Resonance set screens, but that's only to help it. It's not something like if you run Grimmsnarl on a team, you can run Pokemon with that Grimmsnarl that benefit a lot from screens. Now, one example I like to use is I have a team that you haven't seen on the channel before, but I use Grimmsnarl and Goodra. Now, if you don't know anything about Goodra, its special defense stat is super high, and its defense stat is super low. Like, it's garbage. It has a garbage defense stat. So what I like to do is run Assault Vest Goodra, set up Light Screen, and set up Reflect, because Goodra benefits a lot from that Reflect, and it makes it a lot more bulky. Now, on this team, using Goodra probably wouldn't be a good idea, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to get up Aurora Veil every single game with GMAX Lapras. And to be honest, you probably only get it up maybe 60% of games. And I don't know, that's probably how much I get it up, about 60% of games, because even sometimes when you do max Lapras, they just have Pokemon out there that basically you're wasting a turn if you GMAX Resonance just to get Veil up. Sometimes picking up the KOs is more valuable than just wasting a turn of Dynamax to get up Aurora Veil. So if you want to build a team around Aurora Veil, Lapras is not your Pokemon. I would run Ninetales, or I would run Vanillix, or I would run Grimmsnarl with screens. Lapras is not a screen setter. Lapras is a bulky, weakness policy type Pokemon to deal out a lot of damage, tank a lot of hits, and if it can set up that Aurora Veil, then it becomes even more of a monster, but it doesn't need it. And I would advise to build a team that doesn't need Veil, because if you build a team that needs Veil around GMAX Lapras, then you're not using that team to its full potential. So that's kind of my thought on Lapras. Now, I'm not going to say GMAX Lapras is really, really good. The Series 3 tournaments inside the VGC room, Lapras is pretty much in finals, every single one of them. And what makes it so good is Milotic is running around everywhere to counter Incineroar, and Lapras kind of hard counters that Milotic with Freeze Dry. Water type moves don't do that much. Icy Wind's not going to do that much. Ice Beam's not going to do that much. So it kind of just walls Lapras. I mean, it walls Milotic, which is really good. So that's what makes Lapras so good. It can check a lot of things like Togekiss. It can check Milotic. It even can pretty much check Incineroar. If you've got Rain up, then you can OHKO that Incineroar. But overall, don't look at it as a screen setter. Just look at screens as icing on top of a cake when you're battling. Like, if you can get the Aurora Veil up, then your team's just that much more bulky, right? So that's also, I said that's where Incineroar is going to come in, because since you don't have those screens every game, you might still need some stat debuffs, which is what makes Incineroar so good to pair with Lapras, I think, because it gets Fake Out, it gets Snarl, Flare Blitz, Parting Shot, right? So if Lapras isn't going to get the screens up that game, you can Intimidate cycle, you can Snarl, you can Parting Shot cycle, and you can still get those debuffs that do relatively the same thing that a Veil does. I actually think that an Intimidate on a Pokemon, if you know this for sure, definitely correct me in the comments, but I think that an Intimidate on a Pokemon, that's a 1.5 debuff. I think screens and doubles are 1.3, but I may be wrong. I know that they're nerfed from singles, like singles reduces it more than what they do in doubles. I'm pretty sure, but definitely if you know more about that, let me know, because that's something I'm kind of a little foggy on. But so yeah, you can Intimidate cycle with Incineroar, Snarl. I've got Flare Blitz just because it needs that major damage output. 4 IV invested attack Incineroar can OHKO Dynamax Durant with Flare Blitz, and it can also live any hit from Durant after an Intimidate with this certain spread, I should say. So that makes it really, really strong. But overall, this team was really, really good when I first built it. I have since kind of altered it a little bit to fit another Lapras team. I've made some changes here and there, and the team that I made is really good. I think I don't get a lot of practice with it because there's not many VGC room tournaments happening all the time that I can join. But when I do join them, the team does pretty well. I would say when I lose, it's probably my fault, not the team's fault. So like I said, I just kind of made those changes for a new team, and I'm probably, I don't know, I'll probably keep that one a secret until I take it to a tournament, because I'm definitely wanting to use GMAX Lapras in my next tournament, whether it be a MSS or a PC or whatever. But so I'll probably keep that team under wraps until then. But once I do use it, I will definitely release it for people to use, because I just think GMAX Lapras is really good, and I think it's probably one of the scarier things to look at coming into Series 3. Another cool Pokemon I want to build around probably tomorrow, or I guess Wednesday, is GigantamaX Kingler. I saw a person using GigantamaX Kingler in the VGC room, and it's very scary. I would not sleep on GigantamaX Kingler, but we'll talk about that more on Wednesday. And with that, guys, I think that's probably where I'm going to leave you. So if you like what you saw, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.